So when I was 15/16, I started to think about suicide. I was having a really hard time at home, and to the point that I was staying at my friend's house pretty much every summer. And I didn't want to go back at the end of the summer, and I told my mom that, and she was so upset, and I was upset, and everyone seemed to be upset, and I just figured that if everyone was having such a hard time with this, that maybe it would have been just simpler for me to have to consider suicide. And that was when I started to think about it more seriously. I had some thoughts before, but that was when I started to think about it seriously, plan it out, and start to go through the motions of doing it.
My dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in the beginning of August, and that definitely shook our family, gave all of us a lot of everything comes with that, the fear, the anxiety, the stress, and just kind of the sense of not good words. But I think my mom took it the worst. She had struggled with anxiety prior, and a seasonal affective depression. But I think with my dad's diagnosis and how severe it was, it really affected her. She began to self-medicate with I think antidepressants not prescribed by a doctor. They were just from friends who were genuinely cared about her, that wanted her to feel better and to fight this, but they didn't know what she would do with those. It was during advisor orientation where I got a call from a very good family friend of the neighbors. Couldn't ask for better neighbors. They were great. But they called me, and they said I needed to come back to a residence real quickly. So my mind is oh no, did something happen to my dad? Did he collapse? Did he go to the hospital? And sorry, I can't forget the look on their faces when it was my neighbor and my uncle when they saw me. They were already crying, their faces were red, and I thought the worst. Did my dad already die? So they sat me down, I'm waiting for it, and they said, Christian, your mother's passed away. And it didn't click for a second. I was like, what? And yeah, they explained it to me. She committed suicide early that morning. Yeah, my mom's gone. That's my relationship with suicide.
So I'd always sort of struggled with panic disorder since I was 14, but I didn't really know it at the time. And just generally being very anxious, it was very easy for me to be very deeply affected by things that happen around me. So my best friend that I'd known since I was around 3 or even earlier, he got leukemia when he was 15, and so that kind of just made everything spiral almost. I also was in a family, we moved around very much because of my father's job. So after I moved away from the UK, I felt a little isolated because I felt nothing really mattered anymore. I stopped doing all of the things that I loved, and I just didn't really enjoy school anymore. I used to love playing piano as well, but I stopped doing that after a while as well, and I just found that all the things that I used to love doing, I just didn't want to do them anymore. Then into becoming 16 or 17, I realized that I started having these suicidal thoughts, and I genuinely didn't believe that I would even make it to the end of high school, let alone my second year of university as I am right now. And I actually promised myself that if I managed to make it to university, I would get a little semicolon right above my heart, which I did last year on my 19th birthday. So I made it.
I think immediately after, I felt really sad, really lonely, and I just wanted to lay on my bed and cry for a bit, and I did, But everyone reminded me to take each day at a time. They told me what I was feeling, They explained that there's no way that they could understand what I'm feeling. They couldn't tell how much it hurt. They just knew that it did, and they told me to just take each day at a time. So I just focused on the little things, I gotta get up, I gotta do A, B, and C. And just by focusing on these little goals that my friends and family, they kept telling me to do, I think it helped me to cope with the reality of the situation. But it also let me, I think, take bigger and bigger steps to improve my situation, or like my self state of being.
I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people obviously say is reaching out, is talking to people, but along with that, also making sure that you draw the line in how much you share with your friends. I definitely, when I first talked to one of my friends, I definitely overshared. And as much as it was like good for me at the time, and it was therapeutic, and I think it was a good thing, it was also really hard on that person, and it was also hard on me because now someone knew such a deep part of me, and I had to like live with that knowledge. So like making sure that you are aware of how much you're sharing, how much you're comfortable sharing, like that is part of why counseling is a good thing, because you are in an environment where someone can maintain 100% confidentiality, and also where somebody is equipped to deal with what you're telling them. Whereas like often people your age, as much as they're like they want to help and they are really valuable resources, they can only help so much. And like my other advice is also looking for multiple ways. So I'm not really an advocate for counseling or an advocate against counseling, or an advocate for anything really. My main thing is just doing whatever helps you, because for me it wasn't really any traditional methods that helped me. It was really like trying different things. So I realized, for example, like I used to play semi-professional soccer, and I thought I loved it. I thought I was in it because I wanted to continue playing, and I realized that it was really just stressing me out, and I completely switched it, and I started doing canoeing because it was the only thing that came into my mind, and I started writing poetry, and I started to do all these things I'd never done before, and like with that my life just changed because I was changing it.
I think the main thing with a lot of people who are going through depression or just anxiety in general, I feel like we're far too critical of ourselves. We don't show ourselves enough compassion. I think that's something that has taken me like 2-3 years to learn. I'm still honestly trying to be a little kinder to myself. I think the best piece of advice that anyone's ever given me is treat your own feelings like you would treat your best friend's feelings. Because I think we say the harshest things to ourselves and think the harshest things of ourselves when we're at our very lowest. Whereas I don't think we'd ever have the heart to do the same if a friend of ours was to come to us with the same problem. So I think it's just really actively trying to change the way that we think we should be dealing with things. Because, at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to feel comfortable, critiquing you just because they don't necessarily understand what it's really like to go through just dealing with a mental illness. So there's more than enough people to do that, so you need at least one person in your corner, and that can be you.